workshop. As we all know that this topic has got a lot of content, so I just chose a little bit so that we can know what to do or correct each other on what I think that is what is required to do in case of investigating accidents. After this workshop, I think everyone should be able to explain what is a causation model, explain the steps for reporting and investigating accidents or incidents, report and investigate in incidents. I'll start with defining incident investigation. What is incident investigation? It is a process for reporting, tracking, investigating incidents that include a formal process for investigating incidents, including staffing, performing, documenting, and tracking investigations of process safety incidents, and the trending of incident and incident investigation data to identify reoccurring incidents. This process also manages the resolution and documentation of recommendations generated by the investigations. And B, when we do incident investigations, we're not looking to blame someone. Instance, this is not an element. We need to remember that the process of incident investigation is not assign blame to anyone, but it is a process to develop effective recommendations to address the underlying system-related causes of incidents. Why do we investigate incidents? There are quite a number of reasons why we should be investigating incidents. When incidents are investigated, the emphasis should be concentrated on finding the root cause of the incident, so you can prevent the event from happening again. The purpose is to find facts that can lead to corrective actions, not to find fault. Always look for deeper causes. Do not simply record the steps of the event. The following are reasons why we investigate incidents. Most importantly, to find out the cause of incidents and to prevent similar incidents in the future. To fulfill any legal requirements, like our Section 24 in South Africa, we require to report certain incidents. So for us to report correct information, we need to carry out an investigation as well to determine the cause of an accident. If you did not investigate, you might not know what is the total cost. The reasons why we investigate incidents in the workplace is to determine compliance with applicable regulations. For example, the Occupational Health and Safety.
Especially if I go frontier, and I can take the world. And he's gonna be there, but this will be all good. If we have
To process workers' compensation, the other question that can be asked is who should investigate incidents? Ideally, an investigation would be conducted by someone or a group of people who are experienced in incident causation models, experienced in investigative techniques, knowledge of any legal or organizational requirements, knowledgeable in occupational health and safety fundamentals, knowledgeable in the work processes, procedures, patients, and industrial relations environment for the particular situation, able to use interview and other person-to-person techniques effectively, knowledgeable of requirements of documents, records, and data collection, able to analyze the data gathered, determine findings, and reach recommendations. The following is a list of people that you can put up as your team for incident investigation. Employees with knowledge of the work, supervisor of the area or work, safety officer, the health and safety committee, union representative if applicable, employees with experience in investigations. You can also use outside experts. You can also use a representative from local government or police. Should the immediate supervisor be part of the team? Some would say no, some would say yes. But I would think the supervisor is likely to know most about the work and persons involved in the current conditions. The supervisor can usually take immediate remedial action. But there can be a problem where the supervisor will try to cover up his shortcomings. So this should not arise if the incident is investigated by a team of people, and if the worker representative and the investigation team members review all incident investigation findings and recommendations thoroughly. The steps involved in investigating an incident. First, report the incident occurrence to a designated person within the organization. Provide first aid and medical care to the injured person or persons and prevent further injuries or damage. The incident investigation team would perform the following general steps: scene management and scene assessment. Secure the scene. Make sure it is safe for investigators to do so. Witness management, provide support, limit interaction with the other witnesses. Investigate the incident, collect data, analyze the data, identify the root causes, report the findings and recommendations, and the organization would then develop a plan for corrective action, implement the plan, evaluate the effectiveness of the corrective action, make changes of continual improvement. What to look for as causes of incidents. You can use causation models, and they will help you to see what to look for. Many models of causation have been proposed, ranging from simple, and we've got simple and complex ones. I just pointed out a few here. Everyone, I'm sure, is well familiar with the domino theory and the management oversight and risk tree, the MOT. Okay, you are at the scene of the incident. These are the things that you have to look for: material, environment, personnel, management, and task. Under task, was the safe work procedure used? Had conditions changed to make the normal procedure safe? Were the appropriate tools and material available? were they used? Were the safety device working properly? Was lockout used when necessary? For most of these questions, an important follow-up question is if not, why not? Material. Was there any equipment failure? What caused it to fail? Was the machinery properly designed? Were hazardous products involved? Were they clearly identified? Was a less hazardous alternative product possible and available? Was the raw material substandard in some way? Should personal protective equipment have been used? Was the PPE used? Were users of PPE properly educated and trained? Again, the investigator must ask why this situation was allowed to exist. Because in some certain scenarios, we would find out that the PPE was issued, the PPE was wrongly used or was not used. The teams have just decided not to use it. And maybe the manager turned a blind eye. So you need to find out why, if the PPE was there, and why was the PPE not used? Or was the PPE used correctly? Or was the right PPE issued? The work environment. What were the weather conditions? Was it dark? Was it clear enough to see properly? Was the poor housekeeping a problem? Was it too hot or too cold? Was noise a problem? Was there adequate light? Were toxic or hazardous gases, dust or fumes present? On the personnel, did the worker follow the safe operating procedures? Were the workers experienced in the work being done? Had they been adequately educated and trained? Can they physically do the work? Was the status of their health? What was the status of their health? Were they tired? Was fatigue or shift work an issue? Were they under stress, work or personal? Was there pressure to complete tasks under a deadline or to bypass safety procedures? The management. Were safety rules or safe working procedures communicated to and understood by all employees? Were written procedures and orientation available? Were the safe work procedures being enforced? Was there adequate supervision? Were workers educated and trained to do the work? Had hazards and risks been previously identified and assessed? Had procedures been developed to eliminate the hazards or control the risks? Were unsafe conditions corrected? Was regular maintenance of equipment carried out? Were regular safety inspections carried out? Had the condition or concern been reported beforehand? Was action taken? Collecting facts under physical evidence. The positions of the injured workers, equipment being used, products being used, safety devices in use, positions of appropriate guards, positions of control of machinery, damage to equipment, housekeeping of area, weather conditions, lighting levels, noise levels, time of the day. Interviewing witnesses. This is what you're supposed to do. Put the witnesses who is probably upset at ease. Emphasize the real reason for the investigation to determine what happened and why. Remember, after an incident, a lot of people will be thinking, if I say what exactly happened, maybe they might shift the blame on me. So you need to emphasize the real reason for the investigation. You tell the witnesses that you need to determine what happened and why. Let the witness talk, listen, confirm that you have the correct statement, try to sense any underlying feelings of the witnesses, make short notes, or ask someone else on the team to take them during the interview. Ask if it is okay to record the interview if you are doing so. Close on a positive note. However, you should not intimidate the witness. While the witness is speaking, please do not interrupt him or her. Do not ask leading questions. Show your emotions. Do not jump to conclusions. The following are examples of questions to ask. Where were you at the time of the incident? What were you doing at the time? What did you see? What did you hear? What were the work environment conditions at that time? What was the injured worker or workers doing at that time? In your opinion, what caused the incident? How might similar incidents be prevented in the future? The analysis of collected facts. Each conclusion should be checked to see if it is supported by evidence. The evidence is direct, physical or documented or based on eyewitness accounts, or the evidence is based on assumption. This list serves as a final check and any sorry. This list serves as a final check and on discrepancies that should be explained. Making recommendations. Remember, it is very important to make recommendations when you're doing investigation. Your recommendations should be specific. They should be constructive. They should identify root causes, identify contributing factors, resist temptation to make only general recommendations to save time and effort. For example, you have determined that a blind corner contributed to an incident. Rather just recommending eliminate blind corners, it would be better to suggest as follows. Install mirrors at the northwest corner of building X, specific to this incident, or install mirrors at blind corners where required throughout the work site. The first one is specific, The first one, it shows where you need to install the mirror, and the second one is just a generic. It does not specify where mirrors should be installed. How should follow-up be done? Management is responsible for acting on the recommendations in the investigation report. The Health and Safety Committee or representative, if present, can monitor the progress of these actions. Follow-up actions include respond to the recommendations in the report by explaining what can and cannot be done and why or why not. Develop a timetable for a corrective action. For example, we said install mirrors at the northwest corner. Provide a timeline. If you just say install mirrors at the northwest corner of the building, it might take longer. If you do not specify how long must you take, how long should it be, if you did not give the timeline, when do you expect it to be done? So you need to provide a timeline there to show how long can the management take to install that requirement. Monitor that the schedule actions have been completed. Check the condition of injured workers. educate, train other workers at risk, reorient workers on their return to work. Thank you so much. It's your time for questions or additions if you have any.
Thank you, Tinashe. Sure, seemed a bit quick. Okay, but yeah, I think let's open it up for some questions and answers between us. Sure, there'll be quite a few questions from others and some polls. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand or feel free to speak and we'll acknowledge you.
Yeah, Comfort.
Comfort, you go ahead.
Unmute, Comfort.
Hi, Comfort, go ahead.
Yes, it's just that I found the presentation already on four slide of the presentation, but I would like to ask the question from the experience that I got on Nuba wind farm. We had a lot of accident there regarding our cranes. The thing is, our employers, the WCL2, the WCL2. I don't know who must fill that form. That is the short question from me.
Should I answer or should Mr. Phelps answer?
Thank you, Comfort. No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead, Tinashe, you can answer it.
From my point of view, I would recommend, let's say the 16.2 or any other manager if available to complete it, because some companies will ask a safety officer to do that. But what I do here at where I work, most of the forms are pre-filled. The general information like the company details is pre-filled. Then the construction manager who is on site, obviously we regard him as senior management, one of senior management. So if he is on site, he should complete it.
Okay, so again, this one's a bit of a question that a lot of people like to ask: who completes the documents? But if we expect the 16 tools to complete the document, and I'm opening up this question to everybody else as well, if we expect the 16 tools to complete it, obviously we need to give them the information, otherwise they will not be able to complete it without the relevant information. So how are the other people doing it? Are you all completing the WCL2 forms yourself, or are you all expecting your 16 tools or management to complete the 16 tools? I mean, sorry, the WCL2 forms, excuse me.
Comfort, unmute first. Comfort, we can't hear you, yes.
Yes, remember it's my first time joining this presentation online. So normally at the side where I'm working, it's myself who is completing it. But of course, it's having a lot of company information that is needed, the employer, and most of our employers, they don't want, I don't know why, they don't want to be, like to cooperate in terms of the filling that form. It's like you want to take their money somehow. Well, it's not like that. But from the advice that I got from you, I will try with maybe the construction manager or 8.1s, they will assist.
All right, thanks, Comfort.
Okay.
Much appreciated. See Claire's hands up. If we can give Claire an opportunity. Claire, go ahead with your question.
Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
Okay, firstly, within my working environment, the person who completes a W2L form, we leave it in the capacity of the supervisor, because that person would, if you were to have somebody working underneath the supervisor, they would obviously have more information about the person in terms of their profile, name, surname, ID numbers, and things like that. And then I just feel that if you leave it with the construction manager or the more senior management, remember they have different other roles to fulfill as well. So they could have quite a lot of, they could have a lot on their plate as well. So just to ensure that the process is done thoroughly, we just leave it to the supervisor in which department the injury occurred to fill out the form. That's my response to that. And then I have a question with regarding the in terms of late reporting of incidents. I would just like to hear from the team, what is your internal processes in terms of consequence management? Because in my working environment, I find that a lot of incidents happen and they are reported late, but we don't have a structure in terms of disciplinary process or consequence management on how to handle that. Because we all know that as soon as the injury happens, it needs to be reported, so it can be obviously investigated. But what do you do internally in terms of your consequence management or your disciplinary processes?
Thank you very much, Claire. Very good question as well.
Okay.
Tinashe, I think you can take that one.
I was hoping you could take that one, sir.
It's fine. It's fine. If you want, I can also take it, or we can open it up to others as well. It's not for Tinashe and Fabian only to speak. But yes, I think it's very important, Claire. Your question is valid, and as I said, it's very good. That your disciplinary procedure covers you for these scenarios, because many a time it's happened to, I think, majority of us already when we've heard of incidents that happen a day or two later. Sometimes we hear it through the grapevine. Other times a guy comes 2 days later and says, I was injured. But yes, you have a right to take disciplinary action against the person, obviously within reasoning. So if a person, for an example, was walking on site and bumps their knee, and it was a bit sore, but there was no blood, etc., no visible injury, that person takes it at okay, I must probably shake it off. And the next day he wakes up in the morning, his knee is swollen. He comes to work and he complains about it or he reports it. In those cases, we accept it. You can possibly give a person, let's say, maybe a written warning, because the scenario is different. You know, if a person obviously got seriously cut or injured on the day, or something happened and you try to hide it, then obviously you need to take necessary disciplinary action against the incumbent. So we've encountered a lot of the times, especially with supervisors, we've had cases where supervisors have paid their workers to not report an incident and given them money to go to the doctor or to the clinic, etc. So that just because they want to look after their hours, the man hours, especially in cases where it could have resulted in, let's say, a recordable case or a lost time injury. So yeah, we've experienced funny situations when it comes to reporting of incidents. And again, there's different mechanisms that you can utilize, like your company induction. So incorporated into your induction, reporting of incidents. If you do not report an incident, you will face disciplinary action. And again, make sure that it's in the disciplinary action with regards to non-reporting of incidents, etc. And then, yeah, it's up to the company's discretion what penalty they deem necessary for that specific incident itself. So those are the cases. And then when you have a scenario where a company, for an example, tries to hide an incident, you can obviously deal with that process more stringently. There can be monetary penalties that can be applied on the company depending on the contractual arrangements, or the company can be issued with an NCR. And if the senior management are aware of it, we've even gone as far as removing site managers, etc., that were aware of the incident. So that's the different approaches of what you can take with regard to that. But clear, it's a valid point and question, and I think majority of us have been faced with that scenario at one point in our careers.
Thank you.
So I hope I answered that.
Yes, it's very much clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claire. Okay, anybody else? Any other questions? Any other bills regarding incident investigations? Okay, I don't see any more hands up. Okay, if that's the case, if there's no other questions or any other comments from anybody, we can close the session. Thank you, Tinashe, once again for your time and efforts. Really appreciated. Thank you, everybody that was in attendance today. We appreciate it as well. Much appreciated. And thank you. Stay safe, keep well, and with connection points, you're always connected. Thank you.
Bye-bye.